Hey guys, welcome back to another Division video. Now today I just want to share this build that I made a couple of days ago. This is another Backfire build. This time we have 100% hazard protection, and I decided to level this build up. As you can see right now, my Backfire is level 9 and my chest piece is level 9, but the rest of the gear I don't really have the resources for that. And the reason for this is because a couple of days ago my level in expertise is level 12. Now for me that's kind of high. It's, you know, halfway there, and I thought that maybe I could level up some of my gears to level 12, right? Joke's on me. The resources that are needed to level up the items or our armor is very expensive, and I was able to reach level 9 on a couple of pieces here. So but before this I was, you know, experimenting with another build, which I will upload it later. It uses the, you know, the damage out of cover knee pads and the contractor's gloves, which provides you a bit of damage to armor. It's the gloves, and I thought that, you know, they recently released this new assault rifle, St. Elmo, which enables you to shock enemies, and you know it's been a pretty popular gun. Every time I go to like some missions, public missions, PvE, people are using that gun. Now I imagine in Dark Zone, which I don't really spend a lot of time in Dark Zone right now, but it's probably the same thing. People are shocking people there, right? And I decided to go with this build because this is, for me, this is future proof, right? Because we're not using any green gear here, like a gear set, so I'm not worried about classified gear set coming back, and my gear is kind of like irrelevant because, you know, it only uses one piece of Cavalier for that 30% hazard protection bonus for wearing 2 pieces. And yeah, it's pretty safe for the classified gear set if ever they release that. And yeah, it also has like 100% hazard protection, and maybe in the future they will put some hazard protection penetration or like shred that will reduce the hazard protection, you know, to balance things out. I imagine that might happen because that's kind of like how they balance this game out, right? Not like Blizzard where they nerf everything. It seems that Massive wants to like not change too much. Instead of like nerfing things, they add things to the game to balance things out. Anyways, that is the build. You know, it uses 2 exotic items. The first one is the main weapon, which is Backfire, and the other one is Ninjabike. Now I imagine this build is somewhat new. When I say new, probably a month old or something. I'm pretty sure that other people already figured this one out. But you know, this is pretty new because, you know, Ninjabike is the last exotic that we got in the last season, and then Cavalier is a new item, and it does save you a lot of like hazard protection because, you know, wearing Ninjabike and one piece of this gives you 30% hazard protection, and I have here a piece that also has hazard protection, so that's another 10%. Also, before we start talking about individual items, I just want to show that instead of like doing this hazard protection, weapon damage, and armor in your Picaros holster, you could do something like this. Keep this and just reroll armor into skill tier. That would put you to skill tier 3. And if you decide to go for technician, that would add another skill tier, which will make you skill tier 4, you know. But for me, I decided to just kind of skip it for now. I might use this one and level this one up instead of that other one here that has hazard protection, and then I will just probably get the 10% hazard protection from some other slot. Okay, so let's talk about the weapons. The main weapon for the build is the Backfire. This is an exotic SMG. You could easily farm this in Countdown or Summit and opening exotic caches. You know, it's not really that hard to get. I have multiple Backfire. And the core attributes for this gun is SMG damage, critical hit chance, and magazine size. Now this gun has the talent Payment in Kind, dealing damage to enemies adds a stack of 1% critical hit damage up to 200 stacks. So that is 200% critical hit damage, lasting 10 seconds. But the drawback is on reload applies a 10-second bleed to yourself, which deals 0.5 armor damage per stack. Now this is an exotic SMG, we can't really change the mods, so let's move on to the next weapon. Now for the secondary weapon, I'm using a FAMAS with Killer. You don't really have to use this exact same weapon and talent. This is mostly, just from experience and from watching other videos. People are using FAMAS. It's a very strong assault rifle. It has like 900 RPM. The stats that you have here is assault rifle damage, health damage, and instead of critical hit chance, I think the ideal role for this is damage out of cover. Let me know down in the comments. And I put here Killer. Now Killer is really strong against PvE, but I imagine in PvP you might want something else, because Killer, before Killer activates, you need to kill an enemy. What if you don't, what if it's like your first encounter, no one is, you haven't killed anyone yet. So I imagine there might be a better talent for PvP, for your FAMAS. Now for the mods, just stack critical hit chance. I have here 5% critical hit chance, another 5% critical hit chance, and another 5% critical hit chance. Now for the magazine, I have here plus 20 rounds. Now for the sidearm, feel free to use whatever you want, it's not that important. I'm just leveling up this gun, so there you go. Okay, so let's talk about the armor pieces. Now this is, I think, a Dark Zone exclusive item. However, I think I got this from a name cache. This is the named version of Y'all gear. It's called Hollow Man. It has like the Y'all brand, which gives you 10% hazard protection as its first bonus. Now since we're wearing Ninjabike, it does activate the second brand bonus of 5% weapon damage, which is really nice. Now the default roll for this armor piece, I think, is armor, and I just re-rolled this to weapon damage because it has like perfect stats here, so I kind of want to keep that in. But ideally, I think it would be better if I re-rolled this to hazard protection, and like the thing that I mentioned earlier, Picaro's holster will have like the critical hit chance or critical hit damage. But here you go, this is the stats that I have here for my Hollow Man. Now for the chest piece, I'm using a Sescaveroba. Fortunately, I have this one lying around. It has Unbreakable in it, but the brand set bonus for this one is 10% critical hit chance. And since we're wearing Ninjabike, it does activate that second one, which is 10% hazard protection. The core attribute that this brand has is weapon damage. So just worry about getting some critical hit chance or critical hit damage here, and then reroll the other stat into hazard protection. And fortunately for me, I have this one lying around. It has Unbreakable in it. And Unbreakable is pretty nice because it's really useful in PvP and PvE. Now for the holster, I'm using a Picaro's holster, right? This is a named item. This is a named Brazos de Arcabas. The first brand bonus is 10% skill haste. A bit of a waste on a weapon build, but it's a really nice one. It's very flexible. It gives you +1 skill tier if you're wearing Ninjabike, because it does activate that second one there. And the unique thing about this is that it has weapon damage here as its secondary attribute. At the same time, you can have armor here, right? But like I said before, you could keep something like this, use something like this, which has like critical hit damage. And if you like skills or using your skills, re-roll the first one into skill tier, so that will put you up to skill tier 4. Now for the backpack, I'm using the Ninjabike Messenger. Now this is an exotic item. I know a lot of people are not a huge fan of this one, but this item is really good for me because I did play Diablo 3 back then, and there's a similar item there called the Ring of Royal Grandeur. It functions pretty much the same. It acts like a secondary piece to your other gear sets, and it opens up a lot of different builds. And for this one, for this specific build, the stats that we get from the other pieces of armor are really good. For example, the Sokolov, you get 15% critical hit damage, and as we seen earlier, you get that 10% hazard protection from Sescaveroba. and it activates the 2-piece bonus of Cavalier, which gives us 30% hazard protection. Now the stats that you have here is weapon damage, armor, and skill tier. Oh, that's another thing that is really nice. You have like that +1 skill tier. And I put a critical hit damage mod here, and the talent that you have here is resourceful. Basically, it acts like a second piece for other gear sets or brand. Now for the gloves, I'm using a Sokolov Concern. This gives us 10% SMG damage and 15% critical hit damage because of Ninjabike. The core attribute that this gear has is weapon damage, so just try to get some critical hit damage there and reroll the other one into hazard protection. And for the knee pad, I'm wearing a Cavalier. The 2-piece gear set bonus for this one is 30% hazard protection, and the stats here that I have is another 10% hazard protection rolled in there, and just leave the core attribute of armor. Okay, so for the skills, this is for PvE, alright? I'm using a shield and a reviver, but you could use whatever skill you want, but for me personally, I am sick of using the shield. That's why I'm okay with skill tier 5 right now. But if you want to skill tier 6, just reroll the main stat of Picaro's holster into skill tier, and that would put you to skill tier 6. But right now, the mods that I have for the shield is 5% shield health, another shield health, and lastly, holster regeneration. Now for the other one, again in PvP, this is not really advised, reviver. But again, this is just for PvE. Reviver skill, I have here Reviver armor repair, duration, and range. Okay, for the specialization, I'm using gunner, but if you want more skill tier, go for technician and reroll the main stat of Picaro's holster into skill tier. That would put you to skill tier 4. But for me, I like shooting guns. That's why I play division, and I like gunner. This one here, the talent here, gives you 10% armor when you kill an enemy. Another nice one here is this one. Killing an enemy gives you 5% rate of fire. And make sure that you unlock this one, which is the 15% increase SMG damage. Okay, so before we go to the shooting range, let's take a quick look at the stats. Keep in mind that my weapon here, Backfire, is level 9, the Ninjabike is level 7, and the chest piece is level 9 as well. The knee pad is level 1, and the rest doesn't really have any level. My armor is 1.3 million, and the stats that I have here is 121,000 weapon damage, 58 critical hit chance. It's not optimized, so this could be easily 60%. 109 critical hit damage. If you have the max stacks on Backfire, that is an additional 200%. That would put you around 310 critical hit damage if you have like optimized gear, and the headshot damage is 56.4. Okay, so here we are at the shooting range. Let's take a look at the talents here. I think the talent that we only needs like a demonstration here would be the one on the Backfire, which is this one. Payment in kind. Dealing damage to enemies adds a stack of 1% critical hit damage up to 200%. Actually 200 stacks, which equivalents to 200%. Lasting 10 seconds. On reload, apply a 10-second bleed to yourself, which deals 0.5 armor damage. Now we don't really experience that bleed damage because of our 100% hazard protection, but let me show you guys how that works. As you can see here on the left side, I will zoom in. We have 60, that is the stacks, that is the critical hit damage increase that we get from Backfire. Right now it's 120, and actually it's 160 now, and we can see the full damage as soon as it hits like 200 stacks. Right now I'm dealing 548,000 on the chest at max stacks, and the headshot damage is 624 for the headshot damage. Anyways guys, that is the build. I really like this build because you have 100% hazard protection, you have decent damage. Also, Ninjabike is one of my favorite exotics in the game, even in like Diablo. Like I said, Ring of Royal Grandeur. It opens up a bunch of different builds. We have activated some really cool effects here from Ninjabike, like the 15% critical hit damage from Sokolov, the 2-piece bonus from Cavalier, and the hazard protection from Seska Vairoba, and the weapon damage from Yal. Unfortunately, I'm using Picaro's holster, and the bonuses that we get is not really for weapon builds. It's 10% skill haste and +1 skill tier. However, what's nice about Picaro's holster, it's pretty flexible. You could reroll the main stat into skill tier, and you have armor and weapon damage in the same slot, so that's pretty nice. But yeah, I really like this build because it's pretty balanced. You have like a bit of armor, 3 armor cores here, 100% hazard protection, a decent damage because we're using Backfire, and an option to use skill tier 4 if you want technician and reroll that main stat from Picaro's holster. Anyways guys, that is it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.